The beef between Cuban Link and Balistic Man. How did it start? This goes back to when Cuban Link was sliced in the face at Jimmy's Cafe in the Bronx, NY. The stabbing was supposedly done by a member of Fat Joe's crew, the Terror Squad. A warning to Cuban Link for disrespecting the Don, Fat Joe. After hip-hop icon Big Punisher passed away, there was a breakup between the Terror Squad crew, which Cuban Link was originally a part of. Cuban Link felt it was his time to shine next on the Terror Squad roster after the passing of Big Pun and was eager to release his debut album, but blamed Fat Joe for it not being released. The truth was, his first singles to the album had bad responses, and the album was set to sell only a couple of thousands in pre-sales before its release, which forced the labels to shelf the project. The album was a flop, and the labels didn't want that to happen, so decided to completely shelf the project. Once Fat Joe explained this to Cuban Link, he was furious and blamed Fat Joe. Cuban Link wanted to get off the Terror Squad label and Fat Joe released him, but immediately after Cuban Link went on to diss Fat Joe, DJ K Slay, Angie Martinez, and more, blaming them for his downfall. He even went as far as joining with rapper 50 Cent during his beef with Fat Joe, thinking this would be his opportunity to gain the upper hand. He was wrong. Fat Joe and 50 Cent eventually settled their differences during a show dedicated to Chris Lighty, a Violator. Cuban Link was finished, and no one in the music industry trusted or wanted to work with him. Fast forward years later, and there was a young upcoming rapper from Buffalo, NY on the rise, Balistic Man. After serving time in federal prison, he came home and started focusing on his music career. Allegedly, someone from Balistic Man's camp paid Cuban Link for a feature for the young rapper so he can gain some exposure. He was unfortunately sent to prison before this would happen. So now that he was home, he contacted Cuban Link's camp to collect his debt owed. They obliged and returned the collaboration. The song was a homage to Big Pun's Beware and You Ain't a Killer. It instantly became an underground street classic. The two never met in person, but would cross paths again in the future under different circumstances. Balistic Man began to blow up. Collaborating on songs with some of the hottest artists in hip-hop like DJ, Khaled, Fat Joe, Benny the Butcher of Griselda Records, and many more. Cuban Link, seeing this, was furious and bitter. After a show at the Apollo Theater for Fat Joe's book release, The Book of Jose, Balistic Man made a post on Instagram paying homage to the Bronx icon and thanking him for an iconic night in hip-hop. Cuban Link, seeing this, was bitter and decided to comment on Balistic Man's post. "What up, gangster? You forgot about me?" Cuban Link ranted. "Make him pay how he weighs," referring to Fat Joe. "Yours truly, an official Buffalo soldier, I ain't going to hold ya," Cuban Link typed. This was a form of disrespect in Balistic Man's eyes, being that he is Buffalo's up-and-coming artist on the rise. And to make a post like that publicly was where the line was crossed. Balistic Man headed straight into battle mode, releasing a devastating diss to the old rapper Cuban Link, titled Buffalo Soldier. "I don't want to talk no more, I'm ready for war," Balistic Man declared in the song. "Somebody should have told you I'm a Buffalo Soldier." Balistic Man mocked Cuban Link's comments from his rant. "Barely survived your beef with Joe just to get murked by a Buffalo Soldier," Balistic Man rapped, referring to Cuban Link's battle with hip-hop icon Fat Joe. "Whack 100 already exposed ya," referring to an incident where West Coast rapper, The Game's manager Whack 100, exposed Cuban Link on the Clubhouse app as a fraud and running to death row for help during his beef with Fat Joe. "I know it hurts 'cause you're older. Your career's definitely over and mine just started, and I feel like Eminem, I'm a soldier." Balistic Man buried the washed-up 67-year-old rapper Cuban Link for good. Buffalo Soldier instantly became a street classic diss, and Cuban Link went on to say, "Balistic Man isn't worth a response," ranting on numerous platforms. The streets beg to differ. In hip-hop, you can't respond on podcast after being murdered on a song, therefore defaulting Cuban Link as the loser in this battle as well as many others. Balistic Man wasn't finished as he went on to drop another devastating blow to the old rapper Cuban Link titled Words of Wisdom, where he shot the video in the Bronx with Pistol Pete. A known figure in hip-hop and brother to Terror Squad's Fat Joe. Balistic Man rapped, "I ain't new to this Latin. Trust me, you'll get flattened," referring to Cuban Link's original name, Latin Assassin. "Your career was brief and slow. You ain't been the same since the beef with Joe," Balistic Man rapped. "I'm a Buffalo Soldier like if I was Bob Marley," referring back to the Buffalo Soldier diss. "Brothers playing poker while they're cooking for the smokers. They'll cut you in your face and have you looking like the Joker." Balistic Man rapped, referring to Cuban Link being sliced in his face. Balistic Man said he had something so devastating in the tank for rapper Cuban Link that it went past rapping and hinted at the rapper having STDs from a prostitute he slept with in Buffalo, NY. Cuban Link went to rant on numerous bogus platforms about Balistic Man, Fat Joe, Tony Sunshine, and more, but it was clear the rapper was finished, and without a response to Balistic Man, it was over. This is how the beef between Balistic Man and Cuban Link started, and what the future brings, who knows? As for now, the future is looking bright for Balistic Man. Proven to be battle-tested early on in his hip-hop career. Unfortunately, this is the sport and some don't make it. After these kinds of battles, Balistic Man has risen to the occasion, but what next? Balistic Man recently released his latest single, It Was All a Dream. A homage to the late Notorious Big, where he had some more words for Cuban Link. There's finally some new awesomeness in your place. You're on Snapchat using filters with sausages in your face, pause, Balistic Man rapped. Referring to rapper Cuban Link using filters with sausages, this beef looks like there is no end in sight, but we shall see. Take care, and thank you for listening on Balistic Man versus Cuban Link, How the Beef Started. Until next time.